Welcome to the Richard Sherman podcast. And before we get started, we got an extra exciting announcement. We are absolutely thrilled to be announcing a new title sponsor of our show, Breitling, the premier luxury watch brand out of Switzerland. This year is their 140th anniversary. They were nice enough to not only let Mitch and I in on the celebration, but to let me come visit their boutique in Bellevue. I'm so excited. Got the watch. Got to do the Shador Sanders. You know what I mean? You know how it goes. It's an outstanding. You can find these watches on some of the coolest head coaches in the National Football League. I don't know why Mike Macdonald and Kyle Shanahan aren't on this list, but Mike McDaniel, Raheem Morris, my guy Robert Saleh out in New York, all have this watch on their wrist. My guy Boomer Esiason. Oh, I'm excited. It takes so much to get a sponsor like this and to be with such a prestigious luxury watch brand. I'm thrilled. A special thank you to Breitling for sponsoring the show. Visit Breitling.com or check out a local authorized dealer to cop you a timepiece of your own. And without further ado, without further delay, welcome back to the Richard Sherman podcast. We got a hell of a show for you.
Richard, nothing says we have finally arrived like getting a title sponsor like Breitling. I mean, this just says it all. We're excited to get into it.
It's the 2024 season. So exciting. Everybody ready for a new start. Everybody starts 0-0. Everybody has hopes of a Super Bowl win, holding up the Lombardi Trophy. Mitchell, I know you feel great about your Detroit Lions in that NFC North. And I feel good about the San Francisco 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks this year with new coach Mike Macdonald and the scheme that he's been drawing up. There's a lot of excitement and a lot of energy coming out of that training camp. How you feeling, Mitchell?
Richard, I'm fired up. I, for one, am going to the game Sunday night. Matthew Stafford returns back home to Detroit again, where he was met with a chorus of boos during that playoff win. No surprise there, being a Detroiter. This Detroit city wants wins, especially in the playoffs. We're not used to them. Let's just start out by your territory, the NFC West, where our listeners love to live. Let's take it down the line. Vegas has some predictions out there. They got the Niners at over under 11.5, the Rams at over under 8.5 wins, the Seahawks over under 7.5. That might be a little light. And then the Cardinals at 6.5. Richard, what are your thoughts of the NFC West? Who's taken the crown this season?
Well, Mitchell, it's gonna be a dogfight, much more than it has been the last couple of years. Obviously, the Rams surprised a lot of people last year with how well they played. Sean McVay, Raheem, they did a great job with that team, a very young team. Puka Nacua came out of nowhere. They played really well defensively. But now, you're not going to have Aaron Donald. You're going to have Stafford another year older. How's Cooper Kupp's health? He had a down year-ish last year. Can Puka Nacua repeat? Kyron Williams was a revelation last year. Can he continue? Those are the questions they need to answer if they're going to have success in this conference. I got them right around what Vegas has them at, Mitchell. 8.5 wins, 8 wins, 9 wins, just over a winning season, maybe sneak into the playoffs at the end. Sean McVay obviously is going to draw it up well. They're going to have a good chance, but starting out in Detroit is going to be tough. It's going to be tough to go out there and win with the way Detroit is built, the way Dan Campbell has built this team, this culture, the way this community has gotten behind them, Mitchell. There's a lot of positive energy coming out of Detroit, and they have a really good team. Let's not say it's all good energy out there winning these ball games. They have a really good team. They're paying their guys. Amon-Ra St. Brown got paid. Panay Sewell got paid. Defensively, they filled some holes with Carlton Davis at the corner spot. They drafted well. Branch will be better. Hutchinson will be better. I think this is going to be a really tough out for anybody going to Detroit or playing them on the road, either way. But I do think the San Francisco 49ers have a really good chance to win this division again. I think the Seattle Seahawks are going to give them a run for their money in a dogfight, especially with the scheme that Mike Macdonald has. They had a lot of trouble with it when he was in Baltimore. Obviously, this is a different place, different personnel. But one thing the Seattle Seahawks have done is they have invested in that defensive line a ton. They got Leonard Williams. They just drafted Byron Murphy. Draymond Jones is playing in his more natural position on the end in a it's hard to say 3-4, 4-3. It's all going to look pretty blended at this point. But they got Jaron Reed, who's going to be a monster within this scheme. It's going to be really fun to watch. Boye Mafe has been a menace. It's going to be really fun to watch. The linebacking core, it leaves a lot to be desired at this point in time. I look forward to seeing what they can do. I tried to tell people, hey, you need to keep Bobby Wagner. People said, oh, you're crazy. New blood, new this, new that. Well, I got high hopes for you, dog, and we going to see. But in the secondary, they're going to be fantastic with Devin Witherspoon. I think Tariq Woolen had that shoulder injury last year, but he's poised to return to the upper echelon of cornerback play and to be one of the best corners in the National Football League. Devin Witherspoon is going to be an all-around great player, especially playing that nickelback role. The role Kyle Hamilton, I think, played last year. I think Kobe Bryant, not the late great, but the Kobe Bryant who moved from nickel to safety on this defense is going to have a great impact. I think that's a phenomenal move for him. Jordan Love is going to continue to be a great leader. But the San Francisco 49ers have gotten Trent Williams in the building, I believe. Reports. I can't confirm. I'm not there. I wasn't on the plane with him. I'm not seeing any Instagram updates. But I'm pretty sure they got him in the building just in time to get ready for this game. I believe if anybody else was going to come in this late into the process, I'd be like, I don't know if he's ready. But Trent Williams, at 36 years old, played the best left tackle in football, and I think that's been pretty unanimous. I think he's going to come in ready to play. I think he's going to come in ready to do his job at a high level. They got the New York Jets at home on Monday night. A-Rod's return. Again, A-Rod has not historically played well against the San Francisco 49ers. I think they're going to be able to come out of that game with a win. I know it's been a tumultuous offseason for them, but I still think they have everything that it takes. I look forward to seeing Nick Sorensen and what he can do with this defense. It's going to be consistency. It's going to be letting the pass rushers rush, the coverage cover. I think Charvarius Ward and Diamador Lenore are going to help elevate this team. Talanoa Hufanga, I love to hear that he's back. He's questionable, obviously, for week 1, but he's back in the fold. I think this is going to be a fun year for this team. Nicholas John Bosa, everybody knows, is going to have a really great year, a huge impact. Javon Hargrave is going to have to play. What are they going to do without Eric Armstead? Can the guys that they replaced him with by committee be able to replace his impact? Because his impact was much bigger than the stat sheet could ever show. And at the offensive line, this preseason, we saw what they could look like without Trent Williams. Now that he's back in the fold, are we going to see a little bit more continuity there? Are we going to see a little bit more consistency? Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Aiyuk, Ricky Purcell. Purcell just got shot, but he was in the weight room the other day, Mitchell. I respect the kid. He's getting a lot of street cred, Mitchell. He's walking in that locker room, playing 50 Cent, Many Men. Got wish death upon me. Blood in my eyes, dog, and I can't see. Like, Mitchell, you get shot, and 2 days later, I'm in the weight room. This is dedication. This is dedication. I can't wait to see it.
It's wild. Hey, Richard, it's an absolutely wild story. I mean, this guy, like you said, getting shot, coming back 2 days later, that says a lot about him, and I'm sure he gained a ton of respect in that locker room. Richard, the Richard Sherman podcast brought good fortune to the San Francisco 49ers right after we wrapped our segment last week. The big story of the offseason was Brandon Aiyuk, and we were talking about it last week. And then I think the Richard Sherman podcast might have brought some good fortune and good luck to San Francisco 49er land, because right after we wrapped, we got news that Brandon Aiyuk has signed his mega extension, which is huge. And Richard, I got a feeling, just maybe we might bring more good luck and good fortune to the folks out in San Francisco, that Trent Williams might be signing his extension right after we wrap this up as well. Richard, with that being said, with the offseason issues of Aiyuk and Trent Williams now hopefully behind San Francisco, are your worries about this team decreased? Do you think that they come out of this division victorious?
Well, my concern level without Trent Williams in the building was a 9.4, Mitchell. Very concerned. With him back in the building, with Brandon Aiyuk's situation resolved, I'm very happy for BA. He deserved every penny. He deserves what he gets. He's a tremendous teammate, tremendous guy, tremendous player. Happy for him and his family. Another guy in the fold. But again, the San Francisco 49ers are on a timer, Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
Time's ticking. Like, it has to be now. It has to be now. It's a lot of things, a lot of tough decisions happen next year. Obviously, it started this year. They lost Eric Armstead. That was a tough decision. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you think. That's a very tough decision. The guy spent his whole career there, done a great job for this team, and now they're playing without him because it was financial. You know, the salary cap is what it is. That cap hit was too big, and they had to move on, which is, I think, each side understood. Eric got paid in Jacksonville. But I feel really good with Trent Williams back in the building. I think he solidifies this team. I think he's an enforcer. I think he's a leader. Obviously, one of the best football players in the National Football League, and he helps this team tremendously. I feel really good about them being a 1 or 2 seed in the NFC this year. With fingers crossed, great health for the team. But, everything, this is why people love football, because anything can happen any given week. Your season could be in jeopardy. One guy sprains an ankle, and now, he's out 4 games, and we're having a whole different conversation. But I think they're going to do well. And I'm excited for BA. I'm happy for Trent, him getting his money as the best tackle. Again, I don't know how the tackle market got so far away from the receiver market. That's another question for another day. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun this season. I think it's going to be a very competitive NFC West. I do not see the Arizona Cardinals doing a lot. I'm sorry, Phoenix fans, Cardinal fans. I don't see a lot of talent on either side of the ball. Obviously, Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be fantastic, even though they can't sell his jersey yet, and he's in a lawsuit with Fanatics. That's a whole different story for a different day. But Kyler Murray, I think he's on the hot seat a bit. You got to figure out if he's going to be a franchise quarterback or not. And I think it's a legitimate question. He came in, played okay last year at times, obviously dynamic as a runner, but can they win with him? They gave him a huge weapon in Marvin Harrison Jr. Obviously, he's a rookie, but can he win? He has to show it this year, or there are going to have to be some hard conversations about moving on from him. It's football season, and you can now get almost anything you need delivered by Uber Eats. What do we mean by almost? Well, you can't get a running back delivered, but you can get baby back ribs delivered. A strong defense? That's a no. But a strong deodorant? That's a yes. A 6-pack of abs? Definitely no. But a 6-pack of beers? Uber Eats can get you that. There you have it. You can get almost anything for game day delivered with Uber Eats. Official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Alcohol in select markets. Product availability may vary by region. See app for details. Football season is here, and Game Time has you covered. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your team play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Sherman for $20 off. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use the redeem code SHERMAN for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Let's move to your conference, Mitchell. Let's move to the North.
I couldn't be more excited for this conversation, Richard. I was just reading an article. Bill Simmons came out with his NFL hierarchy, the pyramid, if you will. And alone on that pyramid was none other than my hometown, Detroit Lions. I never thought this day would come, but here we are. Vegas loves the Lions. Over under 11.5 wins. They've got the Green Bay Packers nipping at their heels. They obviously, anytime you strike gold 3 times in a row with quarterbacks, and now Jordan Love taking over there in Green Bay. And then the Bears. I mean, there's so much talent in Chicago with Caleb Williams, with DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze. They bring in DeAndre Swift. The list goes on. There's a lot of name value in Chicago. Richard, who do you like coming out of this division?
I obviously I like your Detroit Lions. I think they're the class of the division. I think what the Green Bay Packers showed last year gives their fans some optimism and gives everybody a bit of pause, because can they do it again? It's one thing to surprise people, sneak up on them. Hey, they don't understand. You guys are young. You guys snuck up on them. But it's another thing when people are looking you dead in the eye and you gotta show it again. They're prepared for what Jordan Love brings. They have a year of tape on him, and everybody always says, "Oh, a year of tape," and they can figure it out. But the greats continue to elevate even after they've figured you out. And so, can he do that? That'll be a question they have to answer defensively. Jair Alexander in that defense, Preston Smith, those guys, will they continue to elevate with Hafley? They got Jeff Hafley as a D coordinator now. He'll bring a very consistent scheme like we did in San Francisco in 2018. And I'm sure they'll respond well. I'm sure they'll be a top 10 defense offensively. That young receiving core, can they continue to be healthy? That's going to be a big thing for them. They showed by committee they're a really talented group that can get it done. But who's going to be the one for them? Who's going to be the number? Is it going to be Watson? Is it going to be Reed? Who is going to be the number one receiver for them on a week in, week out basis? Because it was by committee. Every game you look up and somebody else is the leading receiver. And that may be how they do it this year. And it's hard to game plan a team like that. Quarterback spreading the ball around, but I do not think they're beating the Detroit Lions for the division. I think it's Detroit's division to lose. I think they come in second. I think the Vikings find a way to come in third, and I think Caleb Williams and these Bears come in fourth, but they just don't have the experience yet. I think he'll do well. I think he'll make some exciting plays. I think they'll see that there's a lot to be excited for in the future. I think he has the receiving core to make games really exciting. I think that defense with Montez Sweat, Jalen Johnson, they made this defense a really top 10 defense for the last 8 games of the season. Can they continue on that path? Because this is going to be a really competitive division. Not that coming in fourth in this division, they may win 9 games and still come in fourth. Mitchell, they may win 8 games and still come in fourth, or they may be tied right there with the Vikings. I think it's going to be close, but I don't see them doing much more than that.
Well, I love your hype for the Lions, Richard, and I'm going to jump on board with that as well. The story around Detroit this offseason has been Dan Campbell's approach. Not just taking what they did last year and being okay with it. Their goal, as Brad Holmes said, is to win the Super Bowl, and that's their expectation. They've approached this offseason as such. They played all their starters in the joint practices. They've suffered a couple injuries. They've dealt with that. But Richard, this Detroit Lions team, is only elevated from where they were last year. A lot of folks have said, can they get past that next hurdle? And I think they can. They brought in and addressed their positions of stress last year. I mean, they were starting guys that were fresh off practice squads in their DB room. This is something this year they're not going to have to worry about. When you draft 2 corners back-to-back in the draft with Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw, and then you bring in a guy that you loved in Carlton Davis, and then you solidify that at defensive line. I don't want to overhype the Lions, but I truly think you're looking at a top 3 offense. You got the best offensive line in football. You got one of the best running back tandems. There's question marks at the wide receiver 3, but this Detroit Lions defense is where I think this team's going to elevate. I believe they're going to be a top 10 defense in this league. And what's even more wild to me, Richard, and I know you probably saw it playing with San Francisco and Seattle, is that there's now players, aging veterans that are wanting that one last shot at a title that are now signing with the Detroit Lions. We saw Tim Patrick sign with them. We just saw Allen Robinson sign with them. This never would have happened in Detroit before, and it's happening now. Brad Holmes is faced with having the good fortune of agents calling him as opposed to the Lions calling and begging for their clients to play for the Lions. Richard, I love Detroit out of the NFC North. Bias aside, I think they win it, and I think they are strong Super Bowl contenders. Let's take it to the NFC South. The story here is really about the Falcons. They've got this plethora of offensive talent, and they bring in the veteran, the proven winner in Kirk Cousins, who I know you've loved for years. Richard, let's start there. How good can this Atlanta Falcons team be with Kirko at the helm?
Mitchell, they can be very good. And I think it's going to be really interesting to watch this this division, because there hasn't been a lot of consistency. Obviously, Tampa has won it the last few years. Obviously, Tom was there. Baker did really well last year. The year before, Mike Evans is an inevitability. The Saints have been kind of down. Quarterback situations rocky. But Atlanta bringing Kirk Cousins in brings a bit of legitimacy to this franchise. I think his receivers, these Kyle Pitts, will have a great year. Drake London will have a great year. Bijan Robinson will benefit. The offensive line will benefit. Raheem Morris, the new head coach, will benefit. Them bringing in Matthew Judon for a third-round pick. That's going to be great for that defense. Obviously, Justin Simmons, what was he still doing in free agency? Available for a team like this to pick him up. He's going to be a huge addition. You don't randomly get all pros just sitting in free agency. I think this defense, this team is going to be legit, and that's why Vegas has them at 9.5 wins. I think they're going to be really competitive everywhere. I think they're going to surprise a lot of teams. Kirk is going to continue to surprise a lot of teams. He's going to be very good. Bijan Robinson will probably make a lot of fantasy owners really happy this year. I'm excited to see what Kyle Pitts can do with competent quarterback play consistently. And Penix will be on the bench. Terry Fontenot has done a great job just forming this roster, filling the holes. I'm excited to see what they can do. But again, Tampa Bay is always going to be there. I think Baker is poised for another good year. That defense, Todd Bowles and that defense has just, they're consistently an issue. And it takes people time to figure them out. And if offensively they can be as explosive as I expect them to be, obviously they lost Dave Canales to Carolina, but they still have Mike Evans. And if I know nothing else, I know Mike Evans, since Jesus was a baby, is going to have 1,000 yards. And nobody else in the history of this game outside of Jerry Rice has had 1,000 yards as many times as Mike Evans has, Mitchell, in a row. This is going on year 11.
It's wild. It's absolutely
11
wild.
consecutive years. It's crazy.
It's insane. And like you said, the Bucs are that team that I think everyone overlooks. And we talked about them last year going into the season. You liked them. I like them. I think Baker is more than a capable quarterback, and he proved it last year. The Saints are always going to be the Saints. We'll see if they can stay healthy, if Derek Carr can get that offense, moving in the right direction on a routine game in, game out manner. They were in games, but they couldn't close them out all the time. And then the Panthers, they're the Panthers. We shall see about them. But Richard, to confirm, you like the Atlanta Falcons coming out of the NFC North?
I like it between the Atlanta Falcons and Tampa. If I got a gun to my head, I take it. I take Tampa because Tampa has been proven and they just prove it. And I just can't, there's a lot of unknowns for Atlanta. They have all the pieces where it should work, but they haven't done it. And so until they do it, I'm not going to give them all that. Carolina, I don't think has enough talent yet to go. I think Dave Canales starts to get them on the right track, wins a couple games, surprises a couple people, but I don't think they're gonna make any too much noise in this conference. Alvin Kamara's contract is up, and they're just acting like it's just, okay, we're like Dennis Allen maybe on the hot seat. It's just they've just been cruising along for the last couple of years since Sean Payton left, and nobody's saying anything. What is Derek Carr doing? Spencer Rattler looked good, so There may be a little quarterback controversy late in the season. If they're not winning games, there's going to be a lot of noise to put Spencer Rattler in the game and give him a shot. He looked really good in the preseason at times, but that's my 2 cents for the South.
I like it. NFL Week 1 is here, and a new season means new ways to get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Fans have spoken. We want to bet on touchdowns. DraftKings heard us and is delivering. DraftKings Sportsbook is the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like picking a player to score a touchdown. Ready to do a touchdown dance of your own? New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $250 in bonus bets instantly, plus 1 month of NFL Plus Premium on us. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Richard. That's code Richard for new customers to get $250 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 and get 1 month of NFL Plus Premium on us. Offer ends September 19th. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. NFC East. Now, this one is always goes the direction that Vegas doesn't think. Vegas thinks the Eagles are going to win the division this year. 10.5 games over under. Cowboys at 9.5. the Giants at 6.5, and the Commanders at 6.5. Richard, let's cut right to the chase here. Is it going to be the Eagles or the Cowboys?
Well, Mitchell.
Oh, boy.
We'll start with the Cowboys. When's Micah Parsons getting paid? Have they got paid yet? No. When's Dak Prescott? You know, there was a very odd conversation from conversation with Jerry Jones, where they asked him about Dak Prescott. And he basically said, I love Dak Prescott as a quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. He's done a great job for us. And that's what you need is a great quarterback in this league. But you didn't say you're going to keep him. Because if you were saying you were going to keep him, you would say, we're working on getting this contract done. Just give us a sec. We're figuring it out. And we expect him to be quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys for a long time. That's not what he said. He didn't give anybody confidence that he believes in Dak Prescott or that Dak Prescott is the long-term answer in Dallas. And that, as an outside observer, for all Dak's faults, Dak was second team All-Pro last year. It is very rare you hear about a second team All-Pro quarterback being talked about like he's just a Joe, just a Jag, Mitchell, just another guy. And that's the way the Dallas Cowboys are treating Dak Prescott. They should be signing him up. Trevor Lawrence got $55 million. He's not better than Dak Prescott. He's not. I'm sorry. There's very few quarterbacks that can have an argument or a debate about better. Obviously, Mahomes is in the mountain, top of the mountain, not a question. Josh Allen's there with Burrow. They're probably right there, 1 and 2. Then it gets up in the air, Mitchell. If you like Lamar, it's Lamar. If you like Dak, it's Dak. If you like, if you like C.J. Stroud to be thrown in that mix, you can. Like, if you like Brock Purdy in that mix, you can. Mitchell, you'd be well within your rights to put those guys in it. Obviously, Aaron can fall anywhere in between there because 4-time MVP, don't count him out. But they're treating him like he's just a bottom-tier quarterback, and that's ridiculous. And that's why I don't have a lot of faith in him, Mitchell, because he doesn't have a lot of faith in him. So maybe they win this division because the way Philly ended last year, all day, always open, A.J. Brown was hurt, banged up. Maybe wasn't. I don't know. Wasn't playing. There's losing a lot of games in a row. I think they lost 5 or 6 or something at the end. It just didn't look like the team. And then you lose Kielce in the middle, which is a much bigger deal than people are saying. It's going to put a lot more pressure on Jalen Hurts, who everything we've heard from training camp has done very well with the transition, put a little more pressure on him, a little more on his plate, and he's handled it beautifully. They paid A.J. Brown, so he's there. He's happy. Goddard is back. He's healthy. They got Saquon now. That's a big deal. Offensive line is still one of the best offensive lines in football, but without Kielce, we're going to see a difference. Just understand that. It's going to be different. Defensively, Bradbury got injured, and however you feel about Bradbury, he's out. Keely Ringo, who should have been a first-round pick, fell a little bit in the draft, but is getting his chance to start for the Philadelphia Eagles, and I think he's going to do really well. He's going to be really impressive on the opposite side of Slay. Obviously, they drafted 2 corners, and neither one of them could beat him out. That says something. That's telling as well. They got C.J. Gardner-Johnson back, who was kind of their menace back there. And I think that's going to be really good for that secondary. I think they're going to get back on track. But Sirianni, if it's not a great season, I think there's going to start being a little bit of heat up under that seat. And I'll give it to Philly. Just because I don't see Dallas believing in their guys. You're not paying Micah Parsons. He's been 2-time first-team All-Pro, and you're not paying him because you guys aren't winning and you're ready to reset. Let Micah Parsons and Dak Prescott go somewhere else, Mitchell, and you'll see how much the rest of the league values them. If Jerry Jones doesn't value them, I guarantee you there's probably 30 other teams that are willing to show exactly. I think Tennessee Titans will be sitting there at Dak's doorstep at 12:01 a.m. when they can with a Brinks truck and everything he needs. You need 10 acres in Tennessee, you got it. But I got Philly winning that division. Dallas coming in second. I think the Commanders come in third with Bobby Wagner, Dan Quinn bringing some stability to that franchise. Jaden Daniels kind of getting things back on track. I think they got a good D-line. Obviously, Bobby, Hall of Famer, linebacker core. The secondary is going to have to – they're going to have to learn. They're going to have to trial by committee. I think the receiving core is solid. Obviously, Scary Terry's been there. He's been consistent. Hopefully, Jaden Daniels brings them some more energy. But I don't see them winning that division. But they could surprise. They could. Maybe Jaden Daniels has a C.J. Stroud-like season and elevates that franchise to the promised land, and they upset Philly and Dallas. That's not out of the cards. But the New York Giants, Mitchell, I'm not going to walk away. Mitchell, I feel bad for the fans. I'm not going to lie to you. I feel frustrated because you let Saquon go. When you look at your team and you're like, we got Daniel Jones. Like, damn. But then you're like, oh, we got Saquon Barkley. Like, that makes me feel a little better. We got one of the best running backs. Like, you got Malik Neighbors, one of the best receivers in the draft this year. Going to be dynamic. Who's your running back? I don't know. Got two good tackles. Two really good tackles, which is what you need. Defensive line, you got a really good defensive lineman. They brought Adoree Jackson back into the fold to be on the opposite side. Defense will probably be solid, but you got Daniel Jones, Mitchell. No matter what you do, you come back and say, we paid Daniel Jones. And I know no matter how much Giants fans want to ignore that fact, it is glaring every single week. You saw in the preseason, he had another blunder play where you're just like, geez, Louise, this is their starter. This is the guy.
Oh, they brought it up in HBO's Hard Knocks the offseason. I don't know how much you had time to watch that, Richard, but they brought it in and they basically said, hey, we're willing to draft a quarterback here and we're willing to trade the 6th overall pick and a couple picks next year, too, to move up 3 spots to get that quarterback. That shows you what they think about Daniel Jones. Richard, but back to the Commanders, like you said, this is a dark horse team for me in the NFL as a whole, because if Jaden Daniels can come in, and he showed it at Arizona State and at LSU, he can take teams and elevate everyone around him. And you've already seen it with Commanders. They have playmakers on the outside. If they can get Terry McLaurin going, and Jaden Daniels has a similar season to C.J. Stroud, this could be a team that sneaks into the wild card and makes some noise, much like the Houston Texans did last year. While we're talking about the Texans, I want to talk a little bit about the AFC South. Let's take it to the other conference, the AFC. The AFC South projects the Houston Texans to win this, or Vegas projects the Texans to win this division, with the Jaguars, Colts, and Titans followed behind. Richard, how much do you love C.J. Stroud with this offense? They've added Steph Diggs. They've added Joe Mixon. Can this Texans team elevate it to the next level? What are your thoughts here?
Very high hopes, Mitchell. I think in the AFC Championship, the Final Four of the National Football League, I expect them to be there. I'd be very surprised if they're not there. They're well coached. D'Amico Ryans has done a phenomenal job offensively, defensively, schematically. They are ready to take the next step. I think C.J. Stroud is the real deal. I think Nico Collins, I think getting Tank Dell back in the mix off of injury. I think adding Stephon Diggs, and hopefully he understands his role. You got 3 good receivers, so the ball is going to get where it's going to get. Dalton Schultz is also going to get his touches. They have a really good O-line. Laramie Tunsil, outside of Trent Williams, is another one of the best tackles in the National Football League on the left side. Defensively, Derek Stingley is making his case that he's the top 5 corner in the National Football League, if not top 3. They got Azeez Al-Shaair from from the Tennessee Titans now. He's back in the fold with D'Amico. That's going to be great. Will Anderson is going to be a problem with Danielle Hunter now in the mix, who's a walking 10 sacks every single year. Jalen Petrie, Jimmy Ward. Opposite side, Kamari Lassiter from Georgia, who they drafted in the second round. They're saying he's one of them. They're saying he's one of them, Mitchell. He beat out your boy Jeff Okudah, who was the top 3 pick, and who's had a resurgence, who's had a resurgence in his career and done better. But he was beat out by the rookie, and that says a lot. I think they're going to make a lot of noise. I think Joe Mixon is going to be a big time player. Their offense is going to be good. Their defense, they're going to be a tough out. I got them at 12, 13 wins.
I don't disagree with you one bit. And then the question becomes, I know you're not a huge fan of Trevor Lawrence, but the Jags were hot at portions of the season, both last year and the year before that. They just couldn't keep that consistency going. Can the Jaguars challenge them, or are you just writing them off at this point?
Well, I don't want to write them off because they have talent offensively, but can Trevor Lawrence stop turning the ball over? Can he stop? Because their defense is getting turnovers at a historic rate at times. That's why they get hot, because their defense gets a lot of turnovers.
Yeah.
And if they don't have success. And that's true if you just look at the stats. Trevor Lawrence, when they don't have a turnover at all, their defense doesn't get a turnover, he's 1-18. So it's really based on what the defense is able to do. They have to get turnovers. They have to give him the ball back consistently, and he has to stop turning it over so consistently. If he can do that in Doug Peterson's offense, I think Travis Etienne is really good. They got some good players that can get the ball. Christian Kirk has had some really good times. I think they can be a competitor. I do not think they can take the division from the Houston Texans, but I think they can make the playoffs and be a solid team. But it's going to be on that defense causing turnovers and Trevor Lawrence limiting them.
Yeah, and then the Colts. I mean, this is a team, Anthony Richardson finally healthy, hopefully. The Colts could be another one of those teams that's a dark horse. Anthony Richardson's really got to come out and prove himself. This division, I don't want to say it's up for grabs because I know Houston, I believe, is going to come out victorious here. But the Indianapolis Colts is another team, much like the Washington Commanders, that are a bit of a dark horse right now. If Anthony Richardson can come out and be dominant, look out for the Colts, Richard. Look out for the Colts. Let's move it to the AFC West. The Chiefs, back-to-back Super Bowl champs. Can they realistically three-peat this year, Richard?
I don't put anything past them. Last year was your chance. Last year was your chance, Mitchell. Last year was your chance. If you were going to beat them, they were having an off year. They went in as a wild. They didn't have home field advantage throughout the entire playoffs. They had to go on the road in the playoffs. They had to go to Baltimore. Then they have to go to Buffalo.
Yep.
Like, that was your chance. Like, they got to go to you. Buffalo, January. At home, you're hot. They're vulnerable offensively, more vulnerable than they had been. You didn't know who their stars were. Rashee Rice was having a solid season, but they were just by committee. Obviously, Travis Kielce's always there. He's an inevitability. You got to worry about him. He's going to be there. But now, Mitchell, they've gotten better. They got their deep threat again. They got their speedster in Worthy. Their defense. I mean, you saw them in the Super Bowl. They play really well. Spags is drawing it up better than ever. I don't know, Mitchell. I think if you were going to get them, you had to get them last year. They were having an off year. Mahomes was having a non-Mahomes year. They didn't get him. So, yes, I think they can repeat, Mitchell. I think it's going to be, again, I think San Francisco 49ers meet them there again. I think they're emotionally drained. I think they're tired. I think they can do it. Like, they can beat them. They play them in a regular season game will not matter at all. San Francisco can beat them by 40. The Chiefs can beat them by 40. None of that matters if you meet again. But last year was a very missed opportunity for a lot of people, Mitchell. That was a missed opportunity for Buffalo. It was a missed opportunity for Baltimore and Lamar Jackson, MVP season at home. Great defense, Mike McDaniels. Now Baltimore has a new DC. It's different. There's a little bit of transition in there. But we'll see, Mitchell. We'll see how they can do. But I think you had to get them last year. So with all that said, I think they have a great chance. I think the Chargers will be better. I think
What are your expectations of Harbaugh entering year one after a hiatus and a national championship at U of M last year?
I think he does well. I think he goes old school, which is how he's won every level that he's played. He's going to run the football, even with Herbert as the quarterback. He's going to run the football. He's going to play action. He's going to play to their strengths. I don't know who they have at receiver right now, Mitchell, that can do it. Without Keenan Allen, they still have Mike Williams, right? But without Keenan Allen, that's been a guy in
Mike
Charger
Williams is
land.
with the Jets. They got Josh Palmer and McConkey from Georgia. And then they also signed DJ Chark. So that's who they're dealing with out there right now, Rich.
That's and so you don't have a go-to. So now Justin Herbert's going to have to figure it out. But again, Harbaugh has done a lot with a little in terms of building it. I don't think they win the AFC West this year. I do not. But I think they come in second because they'll run the ball. He'll get the most out of that defense because they'll play the time possession game. Joey Bosa says he wants to be relevant. Well, you guys are as relevant as it gets right now. And so I think they're going to have a really good chance to do as he is. That's why he's had success. They brought Greg Roman in, who's the football savant.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to I'm telling you, he can draw it up for however you feel about him coordinating offenses in terms of run game. He's as good as it gets, and I'm not going to debate that. That's why he brought him in. I think defensively they're going to maximize that talent finally. Really good players. I look forward to seeing what they can do.
And let's take it to the AFC North. This is probably one of the most competitive divisions in football. The Ravens, Bengals, Steelers, and Browns all projected, 8.5+ wins by Vegas. Let's start with Cincinnati because last year was an interesting one for them without Joe Burrow, and winning consistently without your star quarterback is very difficult. And we saw the backup come in and really keep that team competitive. How much of an impact does Joe Burrow have on this Bengals team? Can he get them back into the AFC championship game? Can he get them back into the Super Bowl?
We're about to see. We're about to see exactly how important Joe Burrow is because Jamar Chase says he's not playing until he gets one penny more than his LSU brethren, Justin Jefferson. And I do not think that Mike Brown, being the penny pincher that he is going to do it. And he hasn't done it yet. Games in 5 days. Has not done it. I don't think Jamar Chase has played or practiced yet. I could be wrong, but I don't think he's played or practiced. And if he doesn't play in this game, they can still win. But if he doesn't play the first couple games of the season, you're going to see how important Joe Burrow is. Can he have that success without Jamar Chase? Is it the chicken or the egg? Who's more important? We've had to see Jamar Chase without Joe Burrow, obviously, for times. He's had his ACL. He went out last year with the thumb injury. Can Joe Burrow consistently win without Jamar Chase? Or can they get Jamar Chase paid as the top receiver in the National Football League, which is what he's looking for? That's the question in Cincinnati. I don't know what they're going to do with their defense. I think their defense is kind of taking a hit. They're it's tough. It's a very tough division. It's become Baltimore's division again. And I think that's going to be the case again this year. I think Cleveland will make some noise. But if they don't, the Deshaun Watson conversations get even louder because they were able to go on a run last year with our guy, Old Faithful, Joe Flacco. Took him on a run last year. Took him on a fun ride to the playoffs. It petered out, but it was a fun ride for those fans. And if they don't see the same kind of production with the guy they're paying millions and millions and millions of guaranteed dollars, I think a tough conversation is going to start to occur for Stefanski. And because they got a lot of talent. And then they picked up Jerry Jeudy. I think their receiving core is really solid. They're going to be able to – Chubb's not going to be back for the first 4, I think. But once they get him back, they're even more solidified. Myles Garrett is a monster. Their secondary, their defense has done fantastic. They played fantastic football last year, and I think that continues. I don't know if Cincinnati's going to be above Cleveland this year. I think they might be second, third in a division, maybe 9 wins. And depending on when Jamar Chase is really depending on Jamar Chase's availability. If he's not available, that number changes.
Well, that's wild. Do we like the Ravens?
Yeah. I mean, there's no reason not like the Ravens. I mean, they add Derrick Henry. They don't lose a ton. They get healthier. They lose Mike Macdonald to the Seattle Seahawks. But I'm sure schematically they're going to attempt to at least be similar to what they did last year. I see them comfortably winning this division and being competitive to be in the Final Four. They have to show they can beat the Kansas City Chiefs, though. Until they like, I'm not putting them in
because
there.
This was a team that looked flat out immortal during the regular season, and then all of a sudden you face the buzzsaw that is Kansas City. And like you said last year, this team in Kansas City was not the same team we're used to seeing. And then all of a sudden in that game they were, and it's like, can the Baltimore Ravens finally get past that last hurdle? They were right in paying Lamar. He looks like that guy everyone thought he was. We shall see. I too like the Ravens out of this division.
And it was still a few plays that changed the game. You know, there's a forced fumble while he's heading over the goal line. You know, I think L'Jarius Sneed made that play. You know, just still a few plays in the ball game, but it's a game of inches. That's all what it always comes down to, is a few plays here and there. And they say they got away from the running game, and that's why they brought Derrick Henry in. But again, are you going to feed Derrick Henry in the way that he needs to be fed to be effective? Or are you going to let Lamar pass the football? I don't know. They went away from the run game in the playoffs in critical situations. That's why they probably didn't win the game. If they would have kept running the ball, who knows where they would have been. But hopefully they don't make that mistake. If they don't, maybe they beat Kansas City this year. Maybe the tides are changing in Baltimore.
And finally, the AFC East. Probably arguably the division with the most question marks going in. You get the return of Aaron Rodgers finally with the Jets. And then the Bills, who lost a ton of talent offensively and defensively for that matter. And then you also got to look at the Dolphins. I mean, who do you like the most out of those three, Richard? Is it Aaron and the Jets?
Yes, it is. I want the Jets. I'm sorry. I don't want to jinx them this year. I did too much with them 2 years ago. I feel like I jinxed them. I'm not going to jinx them this year. I feel really good about the Jets. If Aaron Rodgers is healthy, Tyron Smith in a green jersey is going to be different, an adjustment after being in the Dallas royal blue for so long and white with the star. It's going to be different, but he's still a really good player and still can hold his own. Hopefully he can stay healthy for 16, 17 games, because that's what that was another Achilles heel, their tackle play last year. I think they're going to be really good. I think Garrett Wilson is up for a career year with Aaron. I'm sure Aaron feels like he owes it to the kid. Their defense, I'm sure he feels like he owes their defense, who've been playing lights out, one of the best secondaries in football. Added Chuck Clark from Baltimore. They got Tony Adams. Obviously, Michael Carter in the nickel, Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed. Sauce and Reed, give the Jets everything they need. They're gonna make sure they keep a lead with Sauce and Reed, things of that nature. We got to get Sauce on the pod so we can continue to come up with different anecdotes and rhymes and things of that nature. But I think Miami, I think they come back to earth a little bit. I think they'll be good, really good defensively. Offensively, Tyreek, I think Snead showed people a little bit of something. I think his comfort level with Tyreek showed people, hey, he can be pressed. Like, get up there, challenge him, feel him, like, be aggressive, be consistent, be confident. And that there's corners in this league that are willing to play that way, play the way Snead played him in that divisional playoff game. And Waddle, they're going to have a really good season. Tua Tagovailoa got his money. Now he's going to have to show consistency. We'll see. They're going to have run the ball with the way they did with Devin Achane and Raheem Mostert. They had incredible years last year. They're going to have to continue to have those kind of years in order for Miami to have success. And we'll see if they can. Mike does a good job drawing it up, but I think they're set for second place in this division. And I think Buffalo is at third, because Josh Allen is an incredible quarterback, but you're taking his weapons. I think Dalton Kincaid has a really good season. I think Keon Coleman has a breakout rookie year. Khalil Shakir has a good year, but is that enough? Like you said, there's been losses on defense. Can a name that you haven't heard for a while, can Von Miller get back to his old form? That'll be a huge deal for this defense. Can Von Miller make an impact this season? Can he have 10 sacks? Obviously, this is a lot of years in football for Von Miller. So it'll be his 14th year. He came in with me, Mitchell, and I've been on TV for 3 years. So let's not get crazy here. To walk away from the game at this time would be a Hall of Famer, one of the best to ever play. But can he make that impact? And I think he can. But I just don't think they have enough offensively, enough consistency, enough veteran presence to really be competitive in a year they're going to have to be.
Well, Richard, that gets us through our division. So we've got, in conclusion, you got the Niners out of the NFC West, the Bucks out of the South, the Lions out of the North, and then the Eagles out of the East.
Like Eagles, y'all.
And then we go to the Chiefs, the Texans. You like the Ravens, and now you like the Jets. So who are going to be your wild card teams? We got give me 3 from the NFC and 3 for the AFC. I want to walk you through your game by game prediction, I guess, if you will, of these playoffs. Let's go. Who wins the AFC Championship, NFC Championship, and Super Bowl? Let's
not get too specific. We're gonna just pick the lineup.
Pick the lineups, Rich.
I need to see these teams play before I can really give you all that nitty gritty.
Give me something to talk about here, Rich.
We got NFC. We got one. We'll start at the bottom. I got Atlanta making the playoffs at 7. I think they sneak in there. I think they find a way.
Okay.
I got Dallas coming in at 6. I think they still have a really talented team, so they're going to make these playoffs. I think the Green Bay Packers at 5. They're going to be in the playoffs. I don't think they beat Detroit. I think Philly wins the division, but they're worse in the division, so they're 4 of the division champions. I think Atlanta wins, so they have 10 wins, and they're. Oh, did I go
the Bucks?
Bucks 10 wins, so the Bucks are in at 3, and then
oh boy,
I got the San Francisco 49ers getting the 1 seed again. Mitchell,
they're
just too talented. Mitchell, they're just too talented. They're too good of a team for me to put them at a 2 seed. I got the Detroit Lions at the 2 seed. That's my NFC. Wait, did I not put Seattle in the NFC?
You did not.
Hey, I got to go back. I'm not taking out. Falcons just miss it. Seattle's in.
Okay.
And we'll put them at 6. Move Dallas to 7, and we'll keep Green Bay at 5. Yeah, feel good about that.
Okay.
The AFC, I'm going to go the opposite way. We got the Kansas City Chiefs as the 1 seed. I think Worthy is just going to play in that Tyreek role and give Patrick Mahomes something he hasn't had for a couple years, and that's a lot more space on the field. Him backing the safeties up some and having to respect, or not backing the safeties up and just going over the top of them for a number of touchdowns is going to be huge. Baltimore being the 2 seed. Houston at 3. They're going to make a lot of noise. At 4, I have the Jets, Jets winning the AFC East. 5th seed, I got the Miami Dolphins. 6th seed, I have. It gets tough, Mitchell, at 5. It gets tough.
Browns, Bengals. You got it does get tough. Jags, Bills.
I got the Bengals with Joe Burrow staying healthy. And then I have, I feel like I'm missing someone.
You talk the Bills or the Jags or the Chargers?
I got the Bills. I don't know about the Jags right now. I'll go Bills. I'll give Josh Allen that he has enough to get his team over the hump.
Who do we like in the AFC Championship game?
AFC Championship. Yeah, I said Stroud to be in it. Stroud, Chiefs, Texans, NFC Championship, repeat, Detroit, San Francisco, Super Bowl, San Francisco, Chiefs. Mitchell, I'm sorry. Look, Mitchell, it's Heartbreak Hotel here. The San Francisco 49ers are winning the Super Bowl. All this turmoil, all this all-season drama gets overshadowed by a Super Lombardi trophy. The quest for 6 ends is what I say again. I was really close last year, but my goodness, what a overtime win for the Kansas City Chiefs.
And then finally, Richard, let's talk about a little forecasting here. Give me your coach of the year.
Coach of the year is DeMeco Ryan. Ryan, coach of the year, far and away, takes this team, makes them really competitive offensively, defensively, has CJ Stroud in the MVP race, very strong receiving core, has them vying for the 1 seed deep into December. I think offensive rookie of the year probably is going to be probably Keon Coleman, just ideal situation. No, not another true number 1 there. Probably going to get a lot of footballs his way, a lot of opportunities. Really good quarterback who's going to be dynamic, scrambling around, hit him deep down the field, put him in positions. Joe Brady's going to do a good job with him in this offense. Defensive rookie of the year.
You got one in Detroit. Easy picking for you, Richard. His name's Terrion Arnold.
That's an easy pick for you. That's your pick, Mitchell?
That is my pick.
Okay. I think Byron Murphy in Seattle is going to have a really good year. Strong bet just with Mike Macdonald and the way he's going to use him, the way they're going to pressure, the way they're going to confuse offensive schemes, offensive line schemes, blocking schemes. He's going to have a lot of free shots at the quarterback outside of him winning on his own accord. Yeah.
How about the NFL MVP?
MVP. It just depends on if they get bored with Patrick or not. If they're bored with Patrick's performances, it's just greatness. You get boring and they get tired of voting for the same guy and giving him, regardless of how well he plays, unless he's throwing for 6,000 yards. Jalen Hurts will put his hat in the ring. CJ Stroud will put his hat in the ring. Josh Allen, if he has that team in competitive anywhere near the 1 or 2 seed, he's going to be in it. A-Rod's won 4 of them. He's a little older, long in the tooth, but if he starts playing in low turnover football, high touchdown, that ratio gets to get crazy again. He'll be in it. Brock Purdy will be in it because San Francisco 49ers will be competitive. Your boy Jared Goff might make an appearance.
We're talking. Now we're talking.
Will Jordan Love take that next step? I'm not sure. I think they'll have to get another playmaker. Christian Watson will probably have a good season, but his hamstring has been really temperamental. Does Joe Burrow put the team on his back? Stroud, Mitchell. I want it to be Stroud. It's going to be Stroud. I want it to be Stroud.
Okay.
I need Stroud to show up in a big way. They've surrounded him with weapons. Actually, they're going to give Caleb Williams Offensive Rookie of the Year. I keep forgetting. The first round, number 1 hype. He'll be the starter all season. He'll throw for a bunch of yards. They'll give it to him. Yeah, that's what I'm going with. MVP, Stroud.
Okay. And finally, the Defensive Player of the Year. I know you like talking about this. I know you called Nicholas John Bosa last year. Your thoughts going into this year?
A couple years ago. I want it to be a corner this year. I want it to be corner. But it's just that nobody's getting to pick numbers like that. And when they are, Deron Bland did, but his play was consistent and erratic. Otherwise, Trayvon Diggs is coming back. I don't know. Does Micah Parsons finally get over that hump and go 20 sacks and play with like a man with his hair on fire? TJ Watt have another year like he usually does? Nicholas John Bosa come back to the fold with the 17-18 sack season. Roquan Smith, Mitchell. Roquan Smith, Defensive Player of the Year.
Okay. And then finally, my personal favorite topic of every podcast, I guess we do, is your power ranks, Richard. I'm so excited to see where my Detroit Lions fall in your first power ranks of the season. Give me your top 5.
They're in it.
Okay.
Detroit Lions are in it. I'm going to go San Francisco 49ers, Kansas City Chiefs, Detroit Lions. Not the ones out the way, Mitchell. I got that.
Okay.
Yeah, I can take an exhale. Because 4 and 5 are a lot more difficult to call. Houston Texans 4. Mitchell 5. Who's 5? Baltimore. Baltimore's 5.
All right, there we have it. That's the 49ers, Chiefs, my Detroit Lions, Houston Texans getting a lot of love on this podcast today, and then the Baltimore Ravens. Richard, this concludes our NFL preview. A couple predictions coming out your way. Richard, I will let you sign us off. I know we are absolutely pumped to be bringing you guys content throughout the year. Richard, take this away.
Well, I appreciate you guys joining us. These are our predictions. They can change. They can be altered. It's not rocket science. These are all, moving pieces, but I feel good about my picks this year. If I didn't pick your team to win it, it's no offense to you or your fandom. It's just one of those years for you guys, and maybe they're going to surprise and shut me up in a big way. But I appreciate you guys listening. As always, hit the sub button if you're new. You're getting the clue. We're going to be putting out a lot more content this year, a lot more game reviews, a lot more interviews, so stay tuned.